Welcome everyone to This is a Revolution, your weekly RevPro podcast. I'm George, joined as always by my good friend, Mr. Dave the Mark. Dave, how are you?
I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. We're on a Saturday morning pod, so I'm not quite feeling as fresh as Daisy, but tea and coffee will sort me out.
Excellent. We love it, mate. We
How's your week
love
been,
it.
bro?
It's been busy, full on, hectic, very, very busy work week. And as we were discussing before we come on, it's been watching The Traitors this week as well. And inevitably, that means after every episode, sitting scrolling everything, and before I know it, it's 11 p.m. and I'm going to bed having had lots of screen time. So yeah, it's like you said, feeling a little bit tired this Saturday morning as we kick off, mate.
Well, we've had like cold and flu in our
Oh,
in the primary school in our village, and it managed to wipe out Phoebe, Isaac, and Emily. Yes, and then Sophie and I have been fine. So where we go off to my school every day. Um, So it's just been, I've had to combine being parent number one this
oh,
week with work as well, which normally to say I'm parent number two is generous to me. It's more like Emily is parents number one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, and nine, and then I turn up and just do fun, silly shit with the kids. Um, but this week it's like getting Sophie up for school and making her lunch and just trying to time everything so that we
yeah.
actually get to school on time. It's been tough, and then getting home and being like, normally I get home and I put my feet up and I'm getting home and I'm like, right, now let's sort out everyone's dinners and stuff like this. So
Mate, if
it's
nothing,
rare that I say this, but I'm quite glad there's no wrestling this weekend.
I was just gonna say, I think it's really, really kind of the school to make sure that it was this week that actually went down with cold and flu. Like
Mate,
to time it in with your lack of wrestling this week is just perfect on their part.
yep, the luck remains in with the Rev Pro schedule and real life shit.
Absolutely, my friend. You live a charmed life where that's concerned, don't you? Well, Dave, live in Coventry 10 now. Live in
Yeah,
Coventry
numbered.
10. We love the numbered. We were, again, for those who actually care, we were just discussing that literally before we come on about how my head loves like it to all to just be consistent. So having Coventry July, Sheffield February, but Southampton and London being numbered just threw my little brain a little bit. So when I saw live in Coventry 10 pop up, I was like, oh, I like this.
Quite interesting as well, isn't it? Because you see the variation in the numbers.
Hmm.
So we're about to have 104 for London. I think we're in the late 30s for Southampton,
Yeah.
early 20s for Sheffield, and then 10 for Coventry. You can see how those towns, those crowds, those shows have grown over those shows.
Hmm.
Um, and you start to look at it and be like, okay, so I wonder what live in Coventry 23 will look like, having just been to live in Sheffield 23, seen that crowd. Like,
Yeah.
that's an interesting dynamic. And I wonder if over time, will we get live in other places? We know
Hmm.
that Andy's talked about going to different towns, but you never quite know what's gonna land and what's gonna stay and what's gonna be for one of like the Rev Pro kind of premium events.
Yes.
What did we call them last week?
Event shows.
Event shows. I liked that. Yeah. So like obviously they've done two shows in Cardiff in the last couple of years. One would be a live in Cardiff, which was Osprey and Big Damo. And then the next one was Uprising. So you'd be like, they're probably not, like, would it be live in Cardiff? Probably
Hmm.
not so much. Um, and then like the Birmingham show that was a one-off with Luke Jacobs and Osprey. They didn't go back. So it's, yeah, from the nerdy perspective that I've got there, I'm curious to see that.
Yeah.
But it's it's nice to be able to categorize one from another and be able to look back on like which events kind of stood out, and as opposed to, I think that was the Sheffield show in April.
Yeah, I know what you mean, and I suppose for you as well, mate. It would be lovely if their next live in series was live in Bedford.
Oh, dude, live in Bedford. Um, yeah,
Imagine
they
that.
did Bedford Corn. They did Bedford Corn Exchange pre-pandemic. They did I think a couple of shows there,
And
and you know,
that would have been before you got into them, wasn't it? Like,
yeah,
yeah,
Grand
yeah,
Slam wrestling is coming to my school, so yeah,
yeah. We've got ASW in the next couple of weeks in Salisbury. I'm really tempted to go because Gangrel's on the card, and I'm just like, it would be a bit silly not to. So I'm gonna wait till next payday, see if there's still tickets for. I'm gonna snatch one up, I think, because Grand Slam Wrestling are close to me as well. They're going to Bournemouth, and they've got Rhino on the card as well. So I'm really tempted by that as well. Yeah.
um, they seem to be growing because they're doing show in Milton Keynes, show in Bedford. I saw a show in Basingstoke advertised.
Yeah,
Like it,
they did Portsmouth Guildhall as well, the
and
old
it's
Red Pro venue.
quite a newish company, isn't it? Like it's only
It's
been
that
knocking
yeah,
around for about a year and a half, I think.
it's very interesting actually looking at them because you kind of I think they've got a really good model in the sense of they're kind of like halfway between like trying to do something like an ASW do, like a Mega Slam do, but with a caliber of talent kind of a bit of a higher level maybe at some points, and then mixing it in with like one or two big touring names. So
Yeah,
like before they've done it before where they had Sanity on there, which for casuals, even though us who are in Brit Rest know these guys so well, like Big Damo, Axel Tisha, for casuals, they'll go, oh, these guys want WWE TV. And then they
yeah,
also had Santino Morella making an appearance as well. So like you get these big names in to just draw it, and then you've got your locals. And looking at the kind of cast of wrestlers around it, it is people like that I see at the ones that I go to for ASW, Joel Redman, people like Brandon Lee. Then you've got JJ Gale on there as well. Stuff like that. Like it's really interesting the kind of the dynamic they're going for. But I am really keen to check out one of their shows.
yeah. It's I'm I'm kind of at a stage where when there's not a Rev Pro show on, itchy feet often kicks in. So it's like, oh, what else is happening? Bye. Um, So yeah, like I'm trying to look at like more local things. So I'm going to go to Elevation Wrestling next Saturday. Taking Phoebe, going to go see Nathan Fisher, Martin Kirby, Maddie Morgan, um, Dave Breaks. That is in Northampton, which is
Hmm.
like I always think that from where I live, everywhere is 20 minutes away because we're in a little village.
Yeah.
Like you have to leave the village to get to a main road to go anywhere. So
Hmm.
everywhere that I go, like you can knock 10 minutes off because 10 minutes is just me driving through the village. So it's about half an hour away, Northampton. But
Yeah.
really, that's only like, I only think of that as being 20 minutes. So yeah, we're going to pop along to that. I'm going to take Phoebe out for a bit of a spoil her day. Um, and then there's a Friday night show next month, Sacrifice Pro Wrestling, which is in Bedford. And I literally I almost drive past the venue on my way home from work. Like maybe that would be like a fun one to go to.
Yeah.
Um, but it's quite cool to see different talents and get to see people that I've not seen before. Like I'm looking forward to seeing Maddie Morgan, and I really liked. Like I got to meet Nathan Fisher when I did the Spinebuster taping, and he seemed like a really nice lad. So I'd quite like to go and cheer him on and buy
Nice.
his
Yeah.
t-shirt and support him that way. Yeah, and then like with Rev Pro doing some shows this year where we're going to have to go further. Andy's alluded to this show up north,
Hmm.
and I don't know what he means by up north because he could be referring to Sheffield as up north, in which case I'd do Sheffield and back in the same day.
Hmm.
But if he's talking further, If it was, you know, like a Newcastle or somewhere like that, I'm not doing that in a day.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a stay over, and then it's like, well, if I'm staying over, what's on the day before? Maybe I can go and check something out. Same that I did with the show in Cardiff and went to see Attack and Chaos, and that was a little bit different because it was an AEW weekend, so there was loads going on, so there was loads of choice. But yeah, I'd quite like to do support things that way. And then I had a lovely moment yesterday when one of my lads at school came to me and he was like, I've booked my first official wrestling training session.
Oh, I love that.
And I'm like, yes, lad, like I love that. He'd been talking for a long time about wanting to train to be a wrestler, and we'd talked about where he could go to do it. And it was always kind of like, oh, when I'm older, I'm going to go down to London. And I was like, but dude, you don't have to go all the way to London for it.
Yeah.
Knowing that that's going to be a barrier for him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like he's not going to be able to do that on a weekly basis to go to London every week.
Yeah. That's it, right? Yeah.
Spike Trevay and Tate Mayfair's school is literally 25 minutes bus journey from Bedford.
Really? Okay.
And there's a direct bus from pretty much his house to Hitchin.
Yeah.
So I was like, why don't you do that until you're of an age where you can drive, and then you can go to explore places further.
Yeah.
And I think he was just so like, oh my God, there are schools outside of London.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to seeing the wrestling journey of young Ace Storm, aka Riley Johnson from Bedford Academy.
I love this. Like, it's gonna be so weird, isn't it? I suppose for you as well. Like, seeing this happen and seeing people like that, like, as you see grow up,
especially like when I've known these kids since they were 10. You know, they come to us for their first transition days when they're 10 years old, 11 years old.
Yeah.
And being the role that I have in school means that I get to know all of the kids.
Yeah.
And I get to know all the kids well. You know, like I don't just teach my class. I'm responsible for maths, whether you're year 7 or year 13, whether you're in class 1 or class 10, like that's my job. So
yeah.
And I'm a very much it always sounds really cheesy, but my approach to teaching is that we're a team and I'm the coach, rather than you're a student, I'm a teacher, I'm going to teach you stuff, you've got to go away and learn it.
Yeah.
Like we're all going to get through together. We're all going to support each other to do that, and I'm going to find every way possible to get you where you need to be. Whether I'm your teacher or whether someone else is your teacher, we're all part of that same team.
Yeah.
Sounds proper cheesy, I know, but that is kind of like the mentality.
I get it, mate. I get it. Yeah, like I'm not obviously in a teaching role, but being in a role that I'm in at work where I manage a team, and I've got to take people from being the level they're at to get them to the next level, right? That is my job.
Yeah, and which is teaching, right?
Yeah, it's the same like the same thing as you said about coaching is like going right. It's not making it feel like there's that divide, even though there's the divide in a power dynamic. There's a divide in like compensation and all that sort of stuff. Like it's very different. But bringing yourself to that level, and I think it's action, it's showing up, doing what you say you're going to do, all of that sort of stuff. And yeah, so I get it completely with you, mate. Like that, it's just taking those people to the next level and giving them what they need and working together on something. Yeah. Nice.
So live in Coventry, bro. Did you get to watch it on stream?
I did get to watch it on stream, and I don't recall.
Was it a good stream?
I don't recall anything not streaming through, actually. So yeah, Coventry normally, to be fair to them, Coventry is normally one of the better ones. With Coventry, the main issue normally is the sound. And you know what? I'm saying this right because obviously that's a thing that I've said before. It sounded so much better as well. Like they've obviously worked out what needs to happen to get all this picked up well and stuff.
Interesting, because the hard camera's moved.
Yes, it has.
I don't know. I don't claim to know anything in terms of what picks up how they're setting up from a production point of view. That's not my. I have no knowledge there whatsoever. I just noticed the hard camera moves because you know where the hard camera is because that's where the wrestler's opposing towards.
Yeah, yeah.
But the hard camera used to be on the bar,
Yes,
pointing
indeed, yeah.
with the stage to the right, and now the hard camera is facing the stage with the bar to the right.
Mm-hmm.
Which even then, even if that's got nothing to do with sound, that shows that there's been a conscious decision to change something production-wise. So the chances are it's not the only change that's occurred there.
Yeah.
And yeah. So what were your what was your favourite thing from the show?
So look, I'm just gonna jump straight in. My favorite thing was the main event.
Yeah.
The main. Oh my god, how many times? Right. So I've already made the thumbnail, right? So I'm gonna peek behind the curtain here. What would normally happen is I'll have an idea of a couple of things in my head for what our thumbnail is going to be, and then usually I will come on here and we'll kind of talk through some bits, and I'll see where the bits are that one of us have raved particularly heavily about. And the last couple of events, we've either spoken about Young Guns or they're featured on the thumbnail already, right? Because of their work in tag division and against Lycos Gym. And I left this and I messaged a friend and I said, where does this rank against the two Lycos Gym matches? Because I could have a serious conversation with someone and say that this was better than those two matches. Which is now, I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm not saying that is where I'd land on it. But if someone said to me this is better than those two matches, I wouldn't say that's controversial. Like I think this is up there alongside them.
And I think that that is like absolute testament to just everybody involved in that match. It was a proper main event.
Yeah.
It was a quiet crowd on Sunday, probably the quietest crowd, Rev Pro crowd I've heard in a long time, or felt to hear in a long time. And the second half, normally the crowds get louder, but I'd say the crowd got quieter in the second half, to the point where the opening match of the second half genuinely had moments of feeling a little bit with how silent it was. But you could just see, like, literally Trent and Haskins came out we're getting the crowd up. From the moment they walked up the steps onto the stage, it was, we are going to drag the voices out of you. And they did it. Mayhew and Oku was quite loud. But the 6 other matches were all different variations of quiet. So, like, there's this other element to this match of they had tough conditions to work in. To then deliver a match which had so much kind of emotion to it, so much story to it. Young Guns I really am now certain that I'd talked before about I quite liked the idea of Young Guns and Diamond Eyes, Mills and Joshua, whatever we're calling them. I'm still not sure.
Well, they are getting announced as Diamond Eyes, aren't they? That's the thing. And
they were, but then on the wrap up, Andy made a joke of being like, I think Dave referred to them as Diamond Eyes, and then Andy made a joke of being like, "Yep, Francesca clearly doesn't watch Rev Pro on demand."
Yeah, and then he made a similar joke when the first show, because I remember we were having this discussion, and on commentary he was like, "Francesca's getting into business for herself."
Yeah. So, like, my logic as someone who obviously writes these names is when I hear Andy say it, I'll write it. Like, then I'll know it really is canon. But I liked the idea of Young Guns and Mills and Joshua trading belts a couple of times, which is not something we've seen very much in Rev Pro before. And it being like there's these 2 big powerhouse tag teams. But one, it doesn't look like Mills and Joshua are going back after the belts with their current arcs. And I don't feel like when their current rivalries end, that would be the next logical step either.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, I quite like the idea of Young Guns just holding the belts for so long.
Yeah, same.
Like it almost being like the story of it and canonizing it of them having more championship defenses than any other team in Rev Pro history. And that being like, I remember when Robbie X was Cruiserweight champion, they canonized the story of him going after Oku's record. So Young Guns they're not going after someone's record because they don't respect anybody else. It's, we will, like, when they're getting there, they'll be like, there's another one off. Like, of course, we're going to be number one. And then it just, them having this record where you look at it and be like, surely no one's ever going to beat that.
Yeah.
You know, like sort of like a 600-day reign or something. Like, genuinely, I feel like, I mean, obviously they can't plan that right now, right? And he can't sit there and be like, I'm going to have them hold the belts for 600 days. And then next week, Luke Jacobs phones up and says, I've just been called up for a WWE tryout. And you're like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
You know? So, but what they can do is say, we're going to keep the belts on them for the short term, medium term, and long term.
Mm-hmm. We're
going to build up other stories. When the moment feels right, we'll change it, but we don't expect that to be for a long time. Like, I really like that. They're so damn good. Like, they're so good.
Yeah.
And you've always been, I'd say you've been more complimentary of them than I have. Even though I think Young Guns, I've always felt Young Guns are an incredible team. I just don't feel like they've always been in a position to have match of the night on a card. Like, they've not been given the spot or the story to have the match of the night, or the jeopardy to have the match of the night.
100
It doesn't mean that what they're doing in the ring is not fantastic. It just means that I'm always raving about something else more.
Yes, and I think that's really fair, because I would say that. So for me, I've always been a really big tag wrestling guy, right? That's always been right from when I was a kid. Most people had like their favorite like wrestler, right? And mine, I liked Hulk Hogan, boo. But also I liked the Rockers. Like, when I was 8 and 9, I loved them. They were my favorites. Like, when they split up and Shawn Michaels turned heel, and I went to fucking BT's in Kettering, I saw this Rockers Hasbro's 2-pack, and I was like 9 years old or whatever. And my mum was like, "You sure you want that? They've split up." And I went, "I want it. Like, they are my guys." Like, oh my god. So like, I've always been a tag wrestling guy, and looking through the years, you had the Hardys, Edge and Christian, Legion of Doom, Heart Foundation, British Bulldogs. Those kind of eras were my things I liked. And then moving into the modern day, even, it was the Revival, American Alpha. Like, to this day, probably my favorite match I saw at not All In weekend, WrestleMania weekend, when I went, now almost a decade ago, literally almost to the month, decade ago, was American Alpha and the Revival, like a tag team wrestling match. So I've always kind of had that in me. But the thing that I would say is I've always liked that kind of that snug style of tag team wrestling as well, that technical bruiser style. And as I'm getting older, I appreciate that style so much. And I think that's what Young Guns bring out in me. They bring that, but they're both really good at balancing their personalities so that they don't feel like a caricature. Okay, so they don't feel like this mean boy team that's just going to beat you up, right? What they feel is they feel authentic and legit. So that you've got Luke, who might be the slightly calmer of the two, when Ethan's been a real shithouse, or the other way around, or Ethan like barking orders and whatnot. And it just makes it feel more legitimate, but it doesn't make it feel like I said, caricature of we're going to come and beat you up. Like, they just feel like a team that's going out there to try and win. And all of this stuff I really, really like. And I think what it was for me is I always wanted to see them put in that spot to be match of the night, to have the emotion, to have the jeopardy, the story. And I think as
that's 2 headlining shows in a row, right?
Exactly. And as we're going through this tag run, like you said, if they can have it for 600 days, amazing. They're already in contention for me of being one of the best tag team title reigns I've seen anywhere ever. And that's not to say there'll be people who will be listening to this and might be checking it out for the first time going, well, then you don't really know a lot about wrestling because you haven't seen this tag run here, this. That's fine. Like, I'm not going to profess to know everything. But as someone who's watched a lot of wrestling over my life, who has watched WCW, WWF, WWE, AEW, random regional sort of stuff that's happened, bits of Japan, but not going to pretend I know a whole hell of a lot out there, bits of Mexico, the same sort of thing. This is one of my favorite runs anywhere of all time, and I want to see it continue. But what is really, really adding to it for me right now is the guys have had the belts long enough that it feels like the jeopardy is there every time they have a title match, because it feels like they've had it the right sort of amount of time that the belts could switch.
Yeah.
I'm not always saying it would be the right opportunity to do it or should be done, and that's probably me coming from a I want them to keep these belts longer perspective. But that adds a lot to it, and it means that you add that in with the intensity that Ethan brings, because I think that's been the absolute triumph of this run, is getting over Ethan Allen, right? And that, to some they might go, that's patronizing, but it's not, right? You've got a guy who,
there's a lot of people there, like myself, and I've been going to Rev Pro longer than a lot of other people who have come into it even more recently than I have. But there's a big section of the crowd who've never seen Ethan Allen wrestle before he came back, right?
Yeah, like I've only seen him once before.
Unless you've been watching Rev Pro for 5 years or more, then you didn't see Ethan Allen's first run pre-injury.
No,
and,
exactly.
I got to see the New Japan match when he came back. Well, when he was in between the injuries, and they wrestled, I think, Sonada and I can't remember who it would have been, Doki, Desperado, someone like that. But that was like a one-off exhibition match. It wasn't Young Guns. So yeah, you've got the people that have been Brit fans for long time.
Yeah.
But what we have to remember is they are a minority of people.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to a show and there's 200 people there, what percentage of those people are the like diehard Brit fans who for the last 10 years have been fully immersed in it, and who are people who are casual Brit fans or Rev Pro exclusive fans or casual Rev Pro exclusive fans, or, as I'm seeing quite a lot, discovered Brit through AEW. In which case, if that's you didn't see Ethan Allen. So I agree, mate. There is a role there of not like necessarily like getting Ethan over, but like showcasing that he is on a level with Luke Jacobs. Because
and that's what I mean by getting him over. Yeah.
When Ethan came back, Jacobs was the guy, right? Like he just won the Rumble and was going on to main event the Cop Box.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like you're bringing somebody into, like, no disrespect to anybody entirely, but it's not like trying to show that Taylor James is on the same level as Danny Black, Maverick Mayhew, Joe Lando.
Mm-hmm.
It's trying to show that someone who you've not seen before is on the same level as the champion.
Yeah, 100%.
That's a tall order, and they smashed it, and Ethan smashed it, because
100%, yeah.
Rev Pro can book him into positions and give him opportunities, but he has to take them.
And that's it, yeah.
I don't think I've seen one Ethan Allen match since he came back, and I'm pretty sure I've seen every single Ethan Allen match since he came back, except for the ones in Berlin or Spain. Everyone that's on UK soil, I've seen every single Ethan Allen Rev Pro match since he's come back.
Yeah.
Not one of them have I gone away thinking, yeah, that was all right.
Yeah.
Like, if Ethan Allen is wrestling, it's going to be a very good match or better.
Yeah.
He doesn't do a level below that.
No.
Because of the and also, if you were gonna create a wrestler for my type of wrestling, Ethan Allen is exactly that, right? Like, so he is wrestling to someone who is already in the choir. But yeah, Young Guns main event in shows, Young Guns defending their championships. and this is something that I'm really, really happy with Rev Pro right now. Every one of those belts feels like it should be headlining shows.
Yep.
And that's like that's really, really cool. And I feel like could Joe Lando and Will Caven have headlined this show?
No.
Maybe not.
Yeah, no.
No,
I don't
think they
think so.
could have. I feel like the two guys could wrestle a headlining match. And I feel like they could go out and do a 20-minute, really, really great match. I just don't feel like there would be that many people watching it, because people wouldn't look at it and be like, oh, I'm going to tune in to watch that show, or I'm going to buy a ticket to go and watch that match. And that's no disrespect to Joe and Will. That is literally just, the levels of the game and where they are currently. But Joe Lando, Cruiserweight Champion, could headline a Rev Pro show just with the right opponent and the right story.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I genuinely think that Danny Black and Joe Lando could have headlined Worcester Hall.
I do.
Like,
yeah,
I feel like they built a little story there, and they had fan investment enough. And I know they had a lot of things going against them. It was cold. It was really bad conditions the day, and that did put some people off. You were going to go to Weave, weren't you, that weekend?
Yes,
if I remember correctly, and you didn't
because of the weather,
and things like that. So genuinely, that is an off-putting factor for fans. But I feel like, when that is enough to headline a show. That's the equivalent of Young Guns, Haskins, Trent. And obviously, Windsor can headline a show. She has done before. She can do again.
And I think
Skye with the main belt of the heavyweight belt obviously can. And that's cool, because I don't remember the last time. I think we'd go back. No, I don't remember the last time that we'd say that, because again, when I go back to Robbie X used to headline shows as Cruiserweight Champion, but Greedy Souls at the time were the tag champions, and they'd never headlined. And I don't think that's any slight on Greedy Souls. I think it's just the fact that there wasn't much of a division. So it would be Greedy Souls versus Arrows of Hungary.
I think
Greedy
you're right,
Souls versus 2. Greedy Souls versus Lycos Gym. But not Lycos Gym serious wrestlers, Lycos Gym, the silly lads that like to do pranks in the ring.
Yeah, Lycos Gym, how they are now, are definitely presented differently to how they were when they were last here, right?
God, yeah. And I've said it before, if I was starting a company, I would build it around Kid Lycos and Nico Angelo. If I wanted to be different from everybody else, I say that because you could say that.
All right, Progress.
Yeah, that could be a Progress main event, couldn't it? But
Dave
in terms of if I was going to pick an out-and-out person who I believe could be a heel to really, really carry a belt and antagonize a crowd, and for them desperately want to see it come off them, I believe Nico Angelo could be that heel. There is so much about him that I look at, and I know aesthetically it's quite an obvious comparison, but there is so much about him that I look at and think of Pac.
Yeah.
And I think of Pac when he first came into AEW, and I was desperate for him to be the champion. That's the Nico Angelo run I would want. And then I think of real, genuine baby faces who I just want to root for. And for a long time, that was Michael Oku. But Michael Oku's transcended that now. Because now Michael Oku can never be that underdog baby face in British wrestling again. But Lycos can. And he wasn't he? Him and Spike Trevay. And maybe I would have loved that if I'd watched that through Progress. Maybe in a parallel universe, we're on a Progress podcast and we're raving about that. But I'm loving what the Lycos Gym stuff. I'm loving the Young Gun stuff, and we're getting the third match, right? The Worcester Hall. Did you see that on one of the?
No, I haven't.
Yep. Okay. So we're getting Lycos versus Young Guns, and I can't remember I feel like there was some slight ambiguity, or I wasn't paying enough attention. And normally, I'd never put it down for me not paying enough attention, but it's been a very tiring week. So maybe if ever there was a week, it was this week.
Yeah, okay.
Liam Slater, I'm sure, proposed that if Lycos didn't beat Young Guns, they'd never challenge Young Guns again.
Oh.
But I feel like when Andy and Dave were talking about it on the wrap up, it was if Lycos don't win, they'll never tag together again.
Hmm.
And that one feels more interesting, right?
Yeah, that does.
Because that's real jeopardy. Because RevPro have done a very, very good job of teasing us with stuff and then not doing it. But the storyline working brilliantly. Charles Samuels didn't retire. Sunshine Machine didn't split up. They could do CPF didn't split up. They could do that with Lycos Gym, and Lycos Gym could become undisputed British tag team champions. And I think there'd be a lot of people happy with that. And I tell you what, this is where I'm going to sound like such a hypocrite, because my brain says I want Young Guns to have this really long title reign. But in Portchester Hall, my heart will be cheering for Lycos Gym. And my heart will want Lycos Gym to win.
But you know what that is, mate, right? As well.
And that's the fandom, right?
That's also where we were this time, almost last year, right? Or almost this time last year, I should say, when we were looking at Young Guns challenging Mills and Joshua. And we're like, hey, Mills and Joshua, like, because at that point they hadn't had the titles long, right? Like, they were a couple of months, if that. And we were like, hey, look, it's too early for them to lose. And we're kind of saying the same thing in some way about Young Guns, while obviously accepting the fact that it isn't too early. But we're going, there could be this here. But this is also such a good opportunity to go with. So I think we're kind of at that stage where we want to live in a world where we can see both happen, right? We think both could happen, have our cake and eat it a little bit, and I think you'll get people who'd be very happy either way. And look, if
Lycos Gym split up, that's a really interesting prospect as well, right?
Yeah, and it's interesting because they're not even in the position where I go, I want to see them split up. But I would love to see the fallout again. Like, so
this is it, right?
Like what happens?
I don't want to see a car crash. I don't want anybody to get hurt.
Because
if there is a car crash, I'm not going to be able to take my eyes off it.
So here's something I'm just going to propose, right? We see them split, right? So does Lycos go for the main belt? Does Lycos 2 go for the cruiserweight belt? Do they both go for the cruiserweight belt? Now, we saw that fucking tremendous Lycos versus Lycos 2 match. You remember at the J Cup? And that was in some ways, it was an exhibition match between two tag partners, right? That's what it was. Imagine that with
delivery.
Yeah, imagine that with real story behind it. Like that in itself would be,
so good. And also, like, who would you see as? Because I feel like if they do this, one would have to go. Like, one would be the good guy, one would be the bad guy. Maybe not heel and face, but like Joe Lando and Danny Black. Danny Black was the good guy in that story. Joe Lando was the bad guy in that story, even though Joe Lando's not a bad guy.
I think Lycos 2 has to be the good guy. He's at this stage, he's too pure, and Lycos is too conflicted.
Which I like, but then you've also got Liam Slater manipulating Lycos 2. So does Lycos 2 end up being the bad guy, but not realizing he's the bad guy?
Potentially,
a bit like poor Harry at the moment. Like, what's going on with Harry? And he's a bad guy because he turned on Shah and he attacked Shah. But at the same time, he's just constantly getting mugged off by Liam Slater.
Or maybe we see a scenario where Liam plays both of them.
Yeah,
both show tendencies that they don't want to see.
And I wouldn't be surprised if they managed to do an eventual thing of Lycos and Lycos 2 coming back together, and it being this kind of, the cynic would be, you can't break a team up under a thing of they'll never tag together again, and then a year later have them tagging together again.
Yeah.
But I feel like you could here, because it would be them exposing how much Liam Slater manipulated everything.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, fuck Liam Slater, we're tagging together again. Maybe that's when Lycos 2 takes the mask off. Maybe that's like, okay, right, well...
Gives up the gimmick almost.
Yeah. Because I do feel like, I've always felt that the Lycos 2 gimmick has a ceiling.
Yes. Yeah.
Can you imagine, like, I always, I can't remember, was it Jim Ross that used to say it? Like, you have to, or I don't know, maybe I'm completely misquoting somebody else here. Someone has very publicly said it. You have to imagine what the big stadium announcement sounds like. You know, and the champion, the undisputed British heavyweight champion, Kid Lycos 2. Doesn't sound right, does it?
And there's always the phrases, no one ever remembers the second man that walked on the moon, right? When you think of Kid Lycos 2, you will 100% always think of Kid Lycos, right?
Yes.
Because Kid Lycos 2, you just hear that and naturally you'll think Lycos Gym, right?
And also, like, it's worked really, really well for his career so far because
100%.
Like, it's almost like they lean into that, and it's a pack mentality when they're serious, and when they're not serious, it's like, we've got really silly names.
Yeah.
But at some point, hearing like Joe Nelson would be feels like, do you know what I mean? It's like, that's Jack Perry, isn't it, as opposed to Jungle.
I also think it worked better for them when they were both masked, because you've got two guys wearing very similar masks. You've got one and you've got two. Now you've got one guy with the mask, one guy without. Like, it kind of, I think now is the time.
I don't think it's a coincidence at all that my emotional attachment to Lycos has come since the mask came off.
100%. 100%. Yeah, I'm with you on that, mate. But look, we've gone off on way kinds of tangents here. But what I do want to get just back to that tag match where we were, I just want to really, really call out the work by Trent and Haskins as well.
So good, wasn't it?
Like, they were fantastic. Like, I loved that they were getting the old guns chant.
Yeah, and it really worked as well, because it wasn't like, do you remember Manders in Sheffield, and it was the "you've got no hair"?
Yeah.
And it was just like, what's he doing? Like, you're reading this whole situation so wrong as a crowd. This was the opposite. This is like, the old guns kind of comes from the same place as the "you've got no hair." It's like low-hanging fruit insult. But it was more of an affectionate term. It worked so perfectly in the story of two old veterans versus the current cream of the crop.
Yeah.
And they were the sympathetic baby faces in the match. They were in peril, both of them. They both took a lot of offense. They were both cut off from the ring from one another. Really, really well. I love both of them, and the tease that we might get Trent versus Haskins. Like, it's almost now where it's like, Andy, don't show me that and then don't give me it. Like, don't let me think, and don't let me think it and now not deliver it. Like, it's like seeing my mum in Toys R Us when we were kids, eyeing up the toy aisle and being like, no. Don't now look at that and not let me find that underneath the tree at Christmas, Mum. Like, you've given me the idea now.
You've given me a verbal contract almost. Yeah.
Versus Haskins is like, that is a letter to pro wrestling for me. Like, that is something I would love to see, and it's you know.
Yeah, I mean,
I know for some people that might not be their sort of dream match, but it is mine.
I think for some people it's a little bit old hat in the sense of they've been around so much longer. They go to so
everybody
much
loves the young, hot up and comer, right?
Yeah, and I think
as opposed to the gritted old bastards.
There's a bit to be said for both of them, right? Like that. Yes, you can have matches that have happened before, right? So I liken this to John Cena, CM Punk, right?
Hmm.
Now I watched that match and it wasn't good, okay, but I loved their match from years ago. You can't say like just because someone's older that the match is going to be exactly as it was, right? And that it doesn't even mean the match is going to be worse, right? One of my favorite matches of all time in AEW was CM Punk, Eddie Kingston, that 10-minute match. Both older guys at that point,
Yeah, yeah,
but could do something that the younger versions of themselves couldn't do
yeah.
because physically they can't do the stuff that they used to do then. Now, it would be remiss of me to say that's probably definitely the case with Trent, right? Trent is still very, very good, but obviously on the older side, probably what is he like, 43, 44?
44, I think.
Yeah, somewhere along there. And that's not to say that that's old, because that's 2.5 years older than me. So I'll just add that in there. But I know physically the stuff that I could do just walking around on a day to day basis is not the same as what I could do even 10 years ago. And that's without taking bumps. Haskins, I think in a lot of ways, he still defies age a little bit. Like when you watch what he can
Yeah,
do, like he was channeling his inner Callum Newman running around that ring. Like it was
yeah.
insane to see.
He's someone who's quite hard to age, Haskins, isn't he? Because what you've always got a case of you've got your biological age, and then
Hmm.
you've got your bump count.
Yeah.
So like Michael Oku is older than a lot of people think he is,
Hmm.
but he didn't come into wrestling until he was later than a lot of the other guys did.
Yeah.
Whereas like, perfect actually, Michael Oku and Robbie X, pretty much the same age. Yet Robbie X has been wrestling for more than twice as long as Michael
Yeah.
Oku.
Okay.
So then you're like, okay, so how much longer could Michael Oku wrestle like this for
Yeah.
compared to how much longer Robbie X could?
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I'm with you completely. It's interesting. I'm just looking it up now, and Haskins 37
yeah,
and has actually been wrestling since 2006 as well. So
yeah,
20 years
20
this year.
years.
20, and the guy still like does what he does so well. Like,
And it was, yeah, I got more from this match in terms of the how much of the Haskins kind of bucket list I can tick off. I got more from this match than the first one because this was a professional wrestling match, whereas the last one was a street fight.
yeah,
And now I just need a singles match, any
yeah.
singles match. But the one I'd love is Trent.
Yeah, I think we'll get that. I'm interested to see what they do here with like the tag team, like
Mm.
whether or not this was a tag team that gets into a match and then both guys kind of go off and do single stuff. Look, I'm gonna say it. Give us a Joel Redman Thrillers reunion in Rev Pro. Just even if it's just one match, you could do that at like a Southampton or something like that. That would be fun. Purely because that was the second Rev Pro show I ever went to. Um, the Thrillers were in a match, and I still remember how young Haskins looked then. Not that he looks old now, but yeah, I thought at the time I was like, he looks like a young CM Punk. That's who he looked like. But oh, to think that was 11 years ago. Bloody hell, where does the time go, Dave? Right, you know
Well,
what?
it's funny that you when I asked you what your favourite thing on the match was,
Yeah.
I had two matches in mind that you'd say.
I
Wasn't sure
wonder,
which one it would be.
I wonder if
So
what you're going to say is going to be the one I was toying with.
Oku versus Mayhew.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was absolutely banging, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was great.
Mayhew is so underrated. He is not as agile as Danny Black and Joe Lando, and he's not as much of a pretty boy as Danny Black and Joe Lando, but what he does in the ring is so good. It's so smooth. It's so spectacular. It does not matter how many times I see that. What is it? The awful waffle.
Yeah.
It does not matter how many times I see that move. Every time it just catches me and takes my breath out and is like,
Yeah.
oh, holy fuck, what have you just done? Like,
It doesn't look like it should work in a
no, it looks like a
cooperative way.
murder.
Yeah.
It looked like an absolute murder. And I loved the selling of the knee, and I loved Oku's work on the knee. It wasn't just, you know, it wasn't the obvious kicking away of the knee. There was so many times when he just got a little shot in at the knee, just constantly plugging away at it. It was like Naito working the neck. Every opportunity I get, I'm going to hit the neck. And that was kind of Oku with the knee. It was one of the right up there with the best Mayhew matches I've seen. That and the Callum Newman match for me would be sort of like the two that stand out. I really want to find a way for us to get Mayhew versus Mills next. Not just because I think it would be a really cool match, but I quite like the symmetry that Oku... Because right now, Oku is so sidetracked from Mills, whilst Mills is just loving life. You know, he's wrestling the kids of Rising Tide. Do you know what I mean? Like, in the way that in the match that they had, there was never much jeopardy that Rising Tide were going to win that. By design, I feel. It was, and Mills, when he was wrestling it, well, like Jay said it literally at the start, he actually said nice and loudly for everybody to hear, my little brothers. So they'd set it up as patronising. Then you had Mills just smiling and laughing all the way through the match. And it felt a little bit like he was just laughing at Oku, because Oku has got all of these obstacles in his way to Mills, whilst Mills is in wrestling terms on the beach.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like you know, like when a football club. Do you remember that when like there was a season when Liverpool would challenge him for the league, but the season before they had finished outside of the European places.
Mm-hmm.
So they were playing, I think it was a Brendan Rodgers team, and they were playing Saturday to Saturday. That was it. But it would have been Arsenal at the time, I think, and City that they would challenge him for, were playing Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, Wednesday. And it was like, all our focus can just go into our one game, but you've got all this on your plate. And it's like Oku has got so many distractions with Amira, with Mayhew, now with Danny Black, whilst Mills is just like going into tag matches where he's not even in the ring for half the time, just living his best life. Yeah. And I like that. I really, really like that.
I did too, yeah.
If we get Mayhew versus Mills, it's a little bit like... And also, if Mills can go into it kind of patronising Mayhew a little bit, you've then got Oku had to really work to beat Mayhew. Mm-hmm. Mills doesn't have to work to beat him as much. But then if Mayhew goes into that match already like favouring his knee, you've got an element of Mills is wrestling the guy that Oku's already damaged. So of course Mills has got it easier than Oku had it.
Yeah,
Oku did the work on the knee, and now Mills gets to come in and
take the rewards,
pull it apart.
Yeah. What I would like to see, everything you've said there, I love the sound of, and that sounds like a great journey to go down. The biggest problem I had with the way that Mayhew has been booked previously is that he had that moment with Mills, didn't he, already, which I think is a great emotional storytelling bit to come back to. But I remember that match, and that felt so one-sided, and then there was just no follow-up, really. Right?
No. I didn't go away from that match wanting to see a rematch. I didn't go away, but the interactions I had in Sheffield is what makes me want to see another.
But then you have Mayhew kind of do this kind of match where he really pushes Oku to the limit, right? And I think that's done a lot of good work there, and I think build into that with a Mills match, right? You've got all of that there that he can cross over back into a Mills match, but give him give him something that can do that. You could have Oku come out and do something, and you'd get, well, who's he going for here? Like, actually, he's got legitimate beef with both people. You could have him cost Mayhew the match because he feels wronged by CPF with what the guys did in keeping him aside so that Amira got beat up by Skye Smitson, right? You've got little threads that go into it there that could be Mills is his beef, but actually this is his bigger beef at the moment. And I think what plays into all this really nicely is a point you made earlier. Oku cannot play underdog anymore.
No.
So Oku's got to be the big dog going out after people.
Yeah.
And this is what is exciting. We don't necessarily need a heel turn, but this aggression from Oku and being a bit more cutthroat that's probably as best as we'll get in terms of that kind of development. But it is such a different place. Not saying we've never had that from Michael Oku, but usually I found that when we do get that level of aggression in like promos and stuff, it's usually accompanied by Amira.
Yeah.
Like punctuating that. I think of the Osprey promo at the 229, for instance, where you had the guys back and forth, but she really punctuated it in there.
Yeah.
And with giving him the opportunity to do it by himself a bit more, I think is going to be really beneficial.
Yeah, I feel like a classic heel turn is something that you can't undo.
Mm-hmm.
And with the shades of grey, you can always add more white to bring the tone down.
Mm-hmm.
And so that might be the best way to go in terms of Oku is the biggest star they have on a regular basis. So, and he is a babyface when we see him in AEW and Ring of Honor. So keep him like that in Rev Pro because that's what people are expecting to come and see. But being able to turn it up so that the people that watch him every week can see the difference, like, definitely works. I wonder what your thoughts are for the Cruiserweight Championship. I want to offer you two choices and see which one you prefer. Will Caven versus Leighton Buzzard wrestle again for the number one contendership, or a triple threat?
I think so when you say triple threat, Buzzard, Caven, and Lando.
Yeah.
Okay.
With the idea that Buzzard's record doesn't mean he deserves a title shot, but when you look at it as Caven has cost him wins, so it's to put them in a triple threat means that Buzzard gets his title shot, but he also has to deal with Caven. Caven's just had a title match where Andy very, very much put it over in the wrap-up that Caven was unlucky to lose that match because when he was going to set up for the Devil Driver, the ref decided that was the time to check on Lando, and then Lando caught him in a roll-up.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't definitive, and Joe Lando will want to not have any question marks over his title reign and therefore will probably want Caven again. So it feels like either of those two options are on the table. Which one on a card would you rather see if it was on like the next Southampton show?
I think this is really interesting. I'm going to say this from a personal live show enjoyment perspective, what I would like, but also from a storytelling perspective in terms of episodic weekly, right? So if I was there in person, the triple threat would be the one for me. I really enjoy watching Joe Lando perform. I think he's great, and he's got one of those styles that's even more impressive when you see it there live. If this wasn't happening on a show that I was going to, I think Caven and Buzzard is the right call. I think I take the point that was made about Caven getting rolled up and it was a quick win. I don't think that's a question mark. I just think that's a wrestler being savvy. Like, at the end of the day, a wrestler should be pinned. Okay, so
that's how I took it.
Yeah,
that's how I took it.
It's not like Lando. Like to say you're the best just means you win, right? And
Yeah.
it didn't feel like a cheap roll up. Okay,
No,
so
not at all.
there's a difference between the cheap roll ups that go they've really escaped with the skin of their teeth there, and that didn't feel the case with that win at all for me. Even like it was clear that obviously Lando took a bit of a knock. Hope he's okay from what I'm seeing on social media. Seems like he's doing well. But it didn't feel like a cheap roll up win. And while Buzzard, and we'll kind of go on to Buzzard because that win shocked me in a big way, and I think it was great. Like if you're gonna kickstart his wins coming back, who better to do it over than Robbie X? And I think that's what was so shocking about it as well.
It was, wasn't it? I didn't see that win coming at all. Did you?
No, not at all. I did not. 100%. I
love the way they opened with that as well, because you open with a shock result, and then you're like, oh, anything could happen on this card.
I was a bit like, oh, okay. Like, didn't expect it. And not that in a bad way, just intrigued to see where they go next.
And then obviously they followed that up with Melissa Fierce beating Mercedes Blaze,
which also shocked me. No,
so you're like, cool. Like, this is, we love to be surprised as long as the surprise makes logical sense.
Absolutely. And and I think for me as well that, yes, it's a big win over Robbie X, but it's one win off the back of a losing streak. And one of the things I would say that I am critical in other companies is when someone gets a title shot being in a negative place when it comes to, right? So we're talking about real sports presentation. Rev Pro goes down that route of sports presentation. Would someone with a 25% win record get a title shot?
Yeah.
I don't
so
think
would you like to see Buzzard over the next couple of shows just get a couple of wins?
Yes, exactly.
Insert wrestler here.
Bring
somebody in or tie it into another storyline where somebody can afford to lose.
I think I'd prefer the same for both guys, actually. Yeah.
A match I'd quite like to see is Buzzard versus Leon Cage.
Buzzard Cage. Buzzard.
I also feel like Leon Cage is in an interesting position at the moment because he's lost a few matches, and I don't think that does him any harm either.
No.
And I think Buzzard beating Leon is more of a... That means more than, say, Buzzard beating Shane Hook.
Yeah.
Because you'd expect Buzzard to beat Shane Hook with the way they're presented. You wouldn't expect Buzzard to beat Leon with the way they're presented.
Yeah. And you could
think how much Jacobs had to do to put Leon away, for example.
Yeah, 100%, mate. And yeah, there's more credibility in terms of what the cachet that's built up within Rev Pro, what beating him means. Yeah, so I'd like to see with both guys, Buzzard especially. I think now that we've got that, we need to have something. And do you know what? Right? If we then build up to a triple threat, have fucking Harrison Bennett appear and cost Buzzard the match. Like, he's come in, he's had a match. I'd like to see him come back. Like you could then throw him in, and there was something there between the two. We said that they didn't quite hit where we thought they would, but I think there could be something there between them both.
And also, like that makes perfect sense because Bennett's just repaying what Caven did for Bennett.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and then you're telling this story of Leighton Buzzard having to overcome adversity to get close to it. Mm-hmm. And then when you do eventually do Lando versus Buzzard straight one-on-one, there'll be loads of jeopardy because you would have told this really cool story with Buzzard. So there'll be a lot of belief that Buzzard could win it. But then it could also be that Lando retains and it is another moment of adversity for Buzzard that he has to overcome, which could eventually lean into him playing the heel role that he does so well.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's loads there I like, mate. Loads there I like.
Yeah. Look, then let's talk about some other bits. So just touching on Melissa Fierce and Mercedes Blaze, I thought again was another really good showing for Melissa Fierce. We know what Mercedes Blaze brings. Solid match, really good in the number 2 spot, and actually felt that like that's a difficult place to be put, and I thought they had the crowd in a nice spot for it as well. So yeah, Melissa looking good, and a win in Rev Pro as well. So
it's now a case of when she's booked again, isn't it? It's not a case of if.
Absolutely, yeah. She's great.
For her.
Also, yeah, you touched on it earlier, but Diamond Eyes and Rising Tide thought it was a really strong match. Loved it. I was I was kind of cursing Shane Hook at the beginning of the match. I was like, for fuck's sake, he's come out in his Power Rangers gear, and after what we were saying about how like that kind of, and then match started.
Takes it off.
There we go. It's like cool. He's got the right
Gets the guns
balance.
out.
He's got the right balance of that, and I just think, yeah, I'm gonna. I said this, I think, controversially to some people. I think, yeah, I think I said last time. I think Hook is on the same level as Leon, and for me, actually, might be a better all rounder as well. And that's not, again, that's not trying to be like faint praise backhand to anyone, because we know how good Leon Cage is, and I think the bits where Shane has that edge over Leon, Leon has that edge in kind of all the intangibles of what takes a great wrestler to, excuse this, a superstar. And I think, and that's what great teams do, right? They have that bit that they edge in, and then they combine and learn from each other. So I think both these lads in the next, look, we're talking about them now already, right, as future stars, like, and at such young ages, who I think combined ages might still be younger than me, which is scary thoughts there. But yeah, they're just so good. I want to see more Rising Tide in the tag division.
Yeah, me too.
I think the tag division benefits from it.
100%. That's exactly what I was thinking. I'm a big fan of having lots of tag teams where the wrestlers also have singles pursuits. Because that means you can use the same wrestlers to dip in and out of different things.
Yeah.
And you don't just have, we bring them in when we need a tag team to lose to somebody.
Yeah.
Or we bring them in to build them up to be the next champions or the next challengers. I like it with Mills and Joshua. I like it with Young Guns. I like it with Rising Tide. I like it with The Machine. The way we've got TK as like the main character, who's also going after the Undisputed Heavyweight Championship. But Chuck is very much like, you know, part of the team. So it's almost like there's the main character and the supporting character.
Yeah.
Which works really well. It feels like there's enough tag teams there at the moment for it to feel like a division as opposed to just a touring champion.
Yes, which I was one of my big criticisms of the tag team division last year. The tag team division overperformed in terms of quality, based on the amount of established teams that we had. Whereas this year, it really, like, that was what I said. I said this last year. This time I was like, it really felt like they were going to have to push CPF as a tag team rather than just a trio, because I didn't see the logical route. Now I'm seeing multiple logical routes that we can go through here. Lovely place to be. So yeah, that was really great.
Kelly Six and JJ Gal.
Yes,
enjoy that one.
You know what, right? This is the point.
We said there was a bit of pressure on it, didn't we?
This is the point where I move into the card of kind of talking about the bits wasn't as keen on, and this was one. It was good. It didn't live up to me for where it needed to live up to. It didn't make me come out of this even more intrigued to see JJ run through the new Sons of Southampton. It came out of this one making Josh James look a bit silly and a bit comedic for me as well. And that's probably, it's a really fine line with a group like this and someone like David Francisco to go from pantomime villain to calculated villain, okay? And sometimes they need to show a bit of arse to like get that. And that means comedy sometimes. When I think of people who can do that, I'm talking at a really high standard here, but I think of someone like William Regal, okay, who could really do the comedy. But I don't want that comedy. Like, if someone's going to take that comedy comeuppance, I don't want that to be my really big guy who's supposed to be really big, really scary, who's been doing tsunamis off the top rope to people and then hasn't had enough time to reestablish himself as that reckoning beast to be doing bits where it's like when I talk about comedy, it wasn't necessarily comedy per se, but it felt like really over the top, family friendly, like oh miscommunication and that sort of stuff. It just didn't land for me, and that's fine. There'll be people that'll go, "What are you talking about? You're being really hypercritical of this." But I think with these guys, I need to see something that makes me feel like JJ should be afraid to run through them, and
Yeah,
there isn't that at the minute.
I enjoyed it more than you did. And I quite liked the idea at the end that Josh James has been held back by a very knackered Kelly Six. And I quite like the idea that it's quite clear that Josh James, if he wanted to go and get JJ, could have gone and got JJ.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kelly afterwards is being like, you're lucky that I held him back, because otherwise he would have torn through you. And it's like all the while Josh James is backing up. And I quite like the idea that Josh James is still, he's the confidence to go in and take on JJ Gao. It's not like he's going to be able to wreck him. It is a case of, I'm happy to be pulled away from him because we need to work together to beat him. I'm not sure if in Rev Pro, given the way the company works, I'm not sure if a monster and a big wrecker works anyway. And let alone it be in the mid card.
Mm-hmm.
So I quite like the idea of them still having to play the numbers game, even when it's Josh versus JJ. I think that if the payoff at the end is good, we'll be able to look back and say it was still, like, for a mid-card storyline, a good storyline and a good use of time. I'm curious to know what the payoff will be. If it's going to be JJ versus Francisco one-on-one, is it going to be JJ versus Francisco with some form of stipulation to keep Kelly and Josh James away? I kind of half joked about the idea of it being a cage match, because if ever you were going to do a cage match in Rev Pro, this is the one to do, right? Because it locks Francisco in and it locks Kelly and James out. I don't think it's going to happen, because I don't think that's something that Rev Pro would want to book.
You know, right? You could. There's something that Francisco has been using when he's been out there.
The belt.
The belt. What is another word that wrestling likes to use for the belt?
Yeah, strap.
That could be something
that ties them together, doesn't it?
Neither of them can escape each other. And if any,
I just hope if that is the case, please don't do the 4-corner strap match. It just, for me, it is one of the most tedious and least inspired stipulations in all of wrestling. Like,
yeah, I'm with you.
Use the strap as the thing that ties them together, so they have to fight as a weapon.
Yeah.
Still have a pinfall. It goes down as one of my least favorite Rev Pro matches ever. Shota Umino versus Yota Tsuchi strap match. Just not my cup of tea at all.
I don't like the 4-corner elements, for me, it's very akin to babyface escaping a steel cage by the door.
I've never liked it. I can't think of one example of a 4-corner strap match I've ever enjoyed.
Yeah, I like the idea of it being there to tether them, kind of like the dog collar. It is there to tether them both together to make sure these people can't escape each other, and that's what I would like.
It's a much safer option than a cage match, and it's much more Rev Pro kind of orientated.
Yeah. So I think
that. I'm thinking, is it too soon to do Josh James and JJ in London, and then Francisco and JJ in Southampton, because they're the next 2 shows?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that could headline a Southampton show. It'd be a great headlining match.
So do I.
And it feels poetic to be in Southampton. if we feel it's a little bit too soon, do we then slow it down so that it's for the next Southampton in 2 months' time? Or do we just say it doesn't have to be in Southampton, we're going to do it on this show in March?
I think it 100% needs to be in Southampton.
I think so too.
It would be, look, the only thing that would say to me that this shouldn't be in Southampton is if something happens scheduling wise with either guy that means that they can't get it done in Southampton in a good time. So next Southampton show or a push the one after, like you said. If you can't make it fit either of those Southampton shows, that needs to be somewhere else just to get it done, because the one thing that can affect Rev Pro sometimes we've seen is, and they're not their fault, things happen, which means stories have had to be elongated to have a payoff.
Yeah.
Maybe when fan interest starts to wane a little bit, and all power to Rev Pro because they want to finish these stories and want to tell the stories, and they're working with what they can. Right?
I do think that they could. I do think they could stretch it if they needed to.
Yeah.
And I quite like the idea of there being a at least one tag team match of New Sons of Southampton versus JJ Gow, and then insert somebody, like him having a partner for the night, and it being that partner gets jumped, taken out, and it turns into a handicap match, and JJ just gets pummeled by them. And it'd be like they just, the weasels keep preventing JJ from getting any momentum, so that there's even more. I don't think it's necessary, but it's an option if they think that the show after next is the Southampton show.
Yeah, so you've got
too soon.
Southampton in February, which you could start to set something up there, right? Southampton 41, 29th of March seems like the right sort of time to do that.
Oh, February and March.
February, yeah, so February the 22nd and March the 29th. So
interesting.
April by that point.
Am I right in saying there's 4 shows in March before that one?
Let's have a look.
3 shows in March before that one.
3. So you've got London, Sheffield, Coventry, Southampton. So you
definitely could.
On the first, you can set up Josh James versus JJ. So JJ in a match, or even Josh in a match in London, and give him the win. Southampton
like 40. They did with Josh versus Owen Swain.
Yeah.
Where they literally just had him a squash match.
Yeah.
It's very rare to see him Rev Pro, but you absolutely could.
Then you
Josh
could
versus
have
Harry.
There you go, and that ties in. Yeah.
And Liam Slater does not come and help Harry.
Then you could do Southampton 40. You could do that. You've then got 3 shows to build Francisco versus JJ, and you can have Dave Francisco come out, and you can have some kind of promo in London that says, "Hey, look, I had it agreed by Andy that for me to turn up for this match, there's got to be no involvement from JJ at any point." Like it's a trope, but you can do something like that builds up to that.
If anybody can pull off a trope like that, it's David Francisco, right?
Absolutely, and you can have it in a way that benefits the heel entirely. Like it would be a Francisco thing that he would say to Andy, like word it in a way that means JJ can't interfere in his matches, but he can interfere in a JJ match if he wants to. Like, and build it up, because after that show at the end of March, we don't go back to Southampton until mid-June.
Yeah,
and I think that's too long to wait to pull the trigger on this. So I think if you can't hit
too long.
If you can't hit Southampton 41 at the 29th of March, then you do it somewhere else.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like we've painted it out quite perfectly there, mate.
Absolutely. And the last
final one to discuss.
Yeah, and look, this I'll add, when I say wasn't keen on it, there's a very specific reason I wasn't keen on this match. Skye Smitson and Kanji very much felt like when I told you recently I watched Wrestle Kingdom and watched Shuri versus Saya Kamatani, where I'm like, oh my god, this is already so good and I want to see more, and then it just stopped, right?
Yeah,
and that's it. And so
I saw your tweet about how good that match should have been, and Kanji replying being like, "Yeah, it should have been."
Should have been. Yeah, I loved that. I was like, yes. But
I liked it in the sense that it extended three characters' arcs,
and I'm being very I'm being very loose with it here when I say that something I wasn't keen on. Okay, for those who are listening and not watching, that's air quotes there at the same time. I liked it. I liked the execution of everything that came off here. I just wanted so much more from this because the match was so good. I was watching this with my
So
wife, right?
the heel spoiling the match spoiled the match for you, right? Which
Exactly.
is kind of the point.
Yeah,
Um,
I was watching this with the wife, right? And we were so she isn't as familiar with some of these people that we know from old Red Pre- First of all, fucking love hearing the Legion theme. Like,
yeah, so good, man.
yeah, I love it. Like, absolutely love that theme. Um, but we were watching it, and she said to me, she was like, "I really love Skye Smitson." Like she said, she is great. She feels like legit. She feels like she kick your ass, but she's got character and personality as well. And
Yeah,
she
yeah,
does like when people. I think when people talk about wrestling, right, especially with indies, especially with sports based presentations, realistic based presentations, they go, "What's their character?" And they expect them to be like a fucking Shakespeare character, like with a whole written like I am the dentist, I am the baker, or something like that. It's like no, like just what is this person's motivations, what their character is, like what is it? And with her, she just has this swagger about her as well that transcends. She reminds me a lot of Scott Hall. That's who
yeah,
she
yeah, yeah.
reminds me of. That Scott
That's a
Hall
really
cool
cool one.
factor. Like she reminds me of that, and she also doesn't feel like she's like stepping back and stepping away from people. She will happily take a shortcut, right?
Yep,
But that's not because she necessarily feels that she
she
needs
is
shortcuts to win.
she is the female version of the Cockney Hardman, isn't she?
Yeah,
Like, and yeah, like there's no kind of code of conduct that an East End gangster sticks to, and that's Skye Smitson, isn't it? Like if she's a shortcut to be taken, she's going to take it because it just makes sense.
yeah, yeah,
Like she's not
absolutely.
trying to win any fans; she's just trying to win matches. Um, I like the way that this match added a defeat for Kanji, so it keeps her away from Alex Windsor for longer.
100%, yeah.
It added to the fact that Kanji is really like manic at the moment. Like she's a bit all over the place. Alexxis Falcon is very much in her head. Um, Alexxis Falcon was hilarious, as she always is. So it showcased her again. And it got Skye Smitson a win where you can now look at it as, well, that's, a victory which brings when her and Amira come together, there's a little bit of stakes to that match because
Mhm.
Amira's picked up a victory in the women's division so far this year. Smitson's picked up a victory in the women's division so far this year.
Yep.
So that's an interesting one. And then I don't know if you know, do you know the women's match booked for London?
No.
Nina Samuels and Alex Windsor versus Anita Vaughan and Sapphire Reed in a no disqualification tag team tornado match.
Interesting.
No tags, no disqualifications, off you go.
Nice.
So it feels like we're going to have. I still don't think that's going to be the end of that story, but it's going
No.
to keep Alex Windsor busy whilst the other women's storylines are going to build up a challenger.
So we
And
have
it feels like coming out of this, we're either going to have Smitson, Amira, Kanji, or Alexxis Falcon, or Rio has performed as well. So there is a potential for Rio if she has another match. One of them is going to be the challenge to Alex Windsor when we get to our first sort of special event.
Do you know what's really cool here? Like, actually talk about it like this, right? One of the things that Rev Pro has taken a lot of pelters for, especially last year, and I'd say at times valid, at times maybe not as much in my eyes, is booking around the women's division. Okay.
Yep.
This year so far, we've got 3 stories happening.
Yeah.
Plus Rio, who's on the back burner, ready to be unleashed into that a bit more. Plus Melissa Fierce, who's come in, who's going to be unleashed into that as
Which
well.
I think that's almost like as an additional story in itself, right? Because it's an arc at least,
Yeah,
even if it's not a story. I kind of see
100%.
them
Yeah,
all being one of the same thing. But Melissa Fierce is on an arc, Rio is on an arc because whilst we can say, there's been 3 shows in 2026, we could also say, well, when 2025 didn't really end, did it? We've just continued. So she's on the arc from Uprising to Mercedes to the dip from Mercedes to trying to come back up again.
Yeah.
I think we're in the strongest position Rev Pro has been in for a long time. When we look at it holistically,
I think where we are stories wise this year, and I take your point there, Dave, and I think that's again, this is where people see wrestling in different ways, right? And where we probably see it in different ways. To me, a story, and I get what you're saying, an arc and a story are two different things for me. So an arc is something that is it's kind of a little teaser for me of being, okay, something can happen here, something can bloom from this, but it's the seed that the story blooms from. And
I get that.
But I want to see more of the blooms, like until the bloom is there. And I've been burned by this enough in wrestling that teasers of things, not Rev Pro necessarily, but just companies, all right, there's a teaser, but nothing ever comes off from it.
I think a good example is like everybody in New Japan feels like they're on an arc, but not many of those arcs bloom into a story.
Yeah.
And that's probably where I've lost a bit of my investment in New Japan over the last kind of year and a half.
Yeah.
I completely. And then you also get like some companies where it's story, and it's like, but hold on, like you haven't sown the seeds.
You need the arcs to
popping the flowers out.
Yeah, and that's something that WWE. That's what made me lose interest in them. Was that there was why is it like I was having this conversation with someone a couple of days ago, and they were talking about The Miz, right? The example there was why is The Miz in a tournament to be like number one contender? He's lost the last 15 matches he's been in, right? So why is he in this? And someone was like, oh, because he's won this, he's won that, he's won the next thing, he's got all these championships. It's like, okay, so play up that fact. Like, don't just go, hey, he's in this, because like give a reason, a story, an arc for it. And that's the important thing is what is his arc? Why is there just has to be these reasons.
Joe loses the US Championship on Sunday, and then on Monday Night Raw comes out and challenges for the Universal Championship.
Exactly.
You just lost a belt. Why are you now getting to go for the even bigger belt?
Exactly. There's those kind of things.
Put some seeds out first, should we?
Yeah, and like give us this reason for caring. Give us that reason. Like the one that we never quite saw, and this is an example of me from one that went from a seed and could have bloomed into something nicely. In AEW was Miro, when his whole thing was the neck made of sand, as he called it.
The neck made of sand.
And
God has cursed me with a neck made of sand.
Yeah, Sammy Guevara managed to like pinpoint that and use it. So then we started getting the seeds of him coming back, and you're going, okay, so the arc here is when he comes back, everyone knows it's a weak point now. Like, what's he going to do to overcome this?
If ever there was, for me, and it's not all on AEW because it takes two to tango, and I'm sure AEW would say Miro was difficult to work with, and Miro would say that he was underused in AEW.
Yeah.
But the ball being dropped when you've done such a good job of doing what I think in wrestling is the hardest thing in the modern era of booking a monster. Look at Wardlow. They've never been able to capitalize on him because monsters have to win, yet you can't have people winning all the time unless they're the top champion.
Yeah.
But in Miro, they created a monster with a fundamental flaw in his arsenal. So you could have...
It was Goliath.
You could have old school stories of wrestlers going after his neck because it was the only way they could survive him.
Yeah.
And it's like, how have we messed that up so badly?
It truly felt like...
It could have been something really special, I feel.
Yeah, it truly felt like your like the oldest take on David versus Goliath. That's what it was, right? But
Bret Hart, Diesel, 1995, Bret Hart, just Diesel's knees are his weakness.
Yeah. But then what does he do to mitigate this going forward? What is it like? There was so much potential there, and that was also not sure if you've seen, but Tommaso Ciampa has recently.
Yes.
Yes.
Please, 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 please. Can we have
Please,
Tommaso Ciampa in Revolution Pro Wrestling again?
please, Andy.
He was there before he went to WWE. Could we have him again? And can Ciampa please? Can your indie run, Mr. Ciampa, please, please, please be
When I saw
that
that not only was
that
he leaving.
NXT heel?
Oh yeah, one of my favourites in.
Watching him come out to silence
Yeah,
as his entrance and just lapping up the full sale like jeers and boos
yeah.
was just.
I
This guy has got so much presence here. Like
yeah.
they've cultivated it beautifully.
I'm gonna give you your own master mark moment. Can you name either the two towns or the two opponents that Tommaso Ciampa faced in Rev Pro?
Ooh. So I'm not gonna overthink it. My foot was Big Damo one,
Yes.
and did he wrestle in Portsmouth Guildhall?
No.
No, he wrestled in York Hall, I think.
No.
No. Oh, I don't know then. Where were the towns?
Not according to Cage Match, at least. Anyway, Big Damo at Broxbourne, and then
Proxbourne Civic Hall.
yeah, then the following night actually was my first ever Tommaso Ciampa match. I'd never heard of the guy before. Josh Bowden live in Southampton Guildhall, September 2015.
Ah.
Yeah, and all I remember.
I was convinced it was a York Hall one. I might be getting it muddled with a different Damo match. Damo's done a lot of York Halls.
Yeah, I remember seeing him kind of walk in mid-show, and like he's walking with his little suitcase. I'm like, who's this guy? And then he came out later, the Psycho Killer, and I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. I like this.
Love that.
But yeah.
Yes. Go on then, mate. What's your Ciampa versus who in Rev Pro? What's the one you want?
I've got two. I've got three actually. Ciampa versus Mills. Ciampa versus Ethan Allen. Ciampa versus Ridgeway.
Ooh, you've got a very specific type of Ciampa match you want.
Yeah.
I think if we wanted like the ultimate, like the best match that it could be in terms of a one-off exhibition, Ciampa versus Oku. Hill versus Babyface. The Ciampa versus Mills, I think, is probably the match with the highest ceiling if Ciampa plays Babyface, because he's so good at being the broken down old man. Complete with grey beard. And kind of like a curveball where Ciampa can get a big touring wrestler victory. Ciampa versus Leon Cage.
Nice. I like that.
All of them.
Do you know what? I was just looking at one thing there. So you mentioned about Big Damo, and you were talking about his York Hall matches, right? And aside from Revolution Rumble and one singles match, every match that Big Damo's had at York Hall for Rev Pro has been against someone that has either appeared in a Tokyo Dome match, a WrestleMania match, or like on AW television.
Yeah,
that's insane. What a guy!
Quite a career, isn't he?
I'd love Damo back in Rev Pro.
Yeah, I would too. I would like Damo a lot.
I do too. Anyway, been a good chat.
Have a lovely Saturday, bro.
And you, what we're going to do tomorrow with no Rev Pro? Oh, I know what I'm doing. Manchester United versus Arsenal. Andy Quilden. I hope you have a fucking horrid afternoon. Catch you later, bro.
See you later, mate.